on this episode of Postcards.
I make documentary films, but they're not like what most people probably think of as documentary films.
It's an unconventional arrangement, and I think it offers opportunity for the audience to have new perspectives and be jolted into looking at their environment in a new way. And that's really exciting for me.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts, offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota. Explore hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for a great vacation or a place to hold an event. ExploreAlex.com. Tri-State Brain and Spine Institute, with locations in Alexandria, Edina, Crookston, and Maple Grove. Doctors dedicated to evaluating and treating all types of brain and spine problems, no matter how complex.
I'm Mike Schultz. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I was born in Moorhead, Minnesota, and then I went other places. And now I'm back in Fargo-Moorhead for the Fargo Film Festival. I make documentary films, but they're not like what most people probably think of as documentary films. I've never done a film about the death penalty or, the plight of an endangered species. In 2008, when Facebook was young, I didn't know what to do with Facebook, so I just one day just typed on there, I could really use a project for a feature-length documentary film. I'd never done one before, and I guess I thought that's what Facebook was for at that time, was just to, beg people for ideas for, the direction that your life would take. And then a friend of mine said, well, I have a great idea for a documentary. I just did a story for Minnesota Monthly Magazine about this guy who led a snowmobile expedition across the North Pole, and his goal was to get to Moscow. And it failed spectacularly. And then when he came back, he became the biggest drug smuggler in Minnesota in the 1970s. Oh, and then he disappeared without a trace. So I thought, well, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good story. There was also 16 millimeter footage of this expedition. So I already had, possibly access to all this great imagery. Because who doesn't love 16 millimeter film from the 1970s? It's beautiful. Everything's orange and blue and gorgeous. I started making that film in 2008. It took me about 4 years, and turned out okay. Pretty good.
Ready?
Yeah.
Bill is kind of a wild one.
I think he had fantastic dreams about his future, although he never told them out loud.
It was an attempt to go around the world by snowmobile.
I didn't have a clue where the hell we were.
We should have had our head examined, but we didn't.
You mean the drug end of it?
Yeah, and that was the 70s, you know.
A lot of people come away from Wild Bill's Run amazed at all of his criminal exploits, but I really got into the story for the Arctic expedition. I mean, I love that they made matching snowmobile suits and matching helmets, and they had matching snowmobiles. So like they look like a little army out there on the snow. Just their coordination with that kind of stuff, I just thought was fascinating. So I really got into the sort of the iconography of their snowmobile expedition. I don't know if anyone else cares about that stuff. I think most people want to know, you know, how much money did he make smuggling drugs, and, you know, what happened to him when he disappeared. But, you know, that's just kind of the third act twist to me. I just really like these guys in matching outfits snowmobiling across the tundra.
Well, I have our book here, and this is all articles on the trip that was in the papers and stuff. This is stuff I saved, you know, it's many years already, so. And here's one of the jackets we wore. We didn't wear this too much out on the ice. When it was good and cold, we wore something different, but this is the jackets we wore. Well, that's our logo and some other details. And these are articles on magazines that were wrote on the trip, and there's quite a few good articles in them. We don't want that on Bill Cooper, do you? Well, this is all stories on Bill Cooper, but these are all articles. In fact, all these are on Bill Cooper, all the things he was supposed to have done. And there's so many articles in here. Well, here's a good one here. Well, it's all here because like I said, he was my brother-in-law and I haven't seen him, so he just appeared real fast like.
I don't remember what year he bought the Squirrel Cage bar, but I knew him. We were good friends. I wouldn't say he was my best friend, but we were good friends. Yeah. No, most of those old-timers that knew Bill, you know, they're mostly gone now. Last year we were out in the mountains in Arizona on our ATVs. And I met a guy that knew Bill Cooper. And I didn't say a word. Now, I wanted to get all I could out of this guy before I admitted that I knew Bill Cooper. So I started asking him questions about Bill. Then he told me, he said, I seen Bill a couple years ago. I've had other people say they've seen Bill. I asked him, did you talk to him? No, he said, I didn't talk to him. Well, then you know right off the bat that, yeah, you've seen somebody that looked like Bill, but you didn't see Bill. I'd hate to, probably it's a good thing you don't know what happened to him.
Bill did absolutely everything he could to be a good father. He did that at the same time being exactly who he was, because you can't change your personality. I think that some of that wanderlust kind of wore off on me, if you will. And I've always been a dreamer. I've always had high goals and believed that my life could also be extraordinary. And I think that's probably something I got from Bill. I think he had fantastic dreams about his future, although he never told them out loud. He lived his life in a way that I've got these phenomenal things that are going to happen. I don't know what they are, but if I keep going, I'm going to make them happen. So it seemed kind of like natural for this man who always thought bigger than life that, oh, we could take snowmobiles. We could actually go to the Arctic. And could we go across the Arctic and end up in Europe someplace? I mean, it was a totally fantastic dream that became, you know, a reality.
You know, I really didn't know what to think of him. Had his big black beard, and he looked at me and said, you know, do you want to go to the North Pole? And I said, tell me more.
Well, I don't know. We were just sitting over at Willow River there, and Bill Cooper is my brother-in-law, and they started talking about it. So we thought, well, let's try it. So we did.
The story I got that Bill was sitting in a tavern somewhere and Plaisted was bragging about having gone to the North Pole by snowmobile.
Ralph Plaisted, the Air Force actually picked him up there. I think about 1968, I believe, and he was really the first person to ever reach the North Pole on a snowmobile.
And Bill's response was, well, if I was going to do that, I'd start in Minnesota.
See, when Plaisted went to the pole, this is where they worked out of Alert.
Right.
And they just made that little hop up there. Grandma could have done that.
Yep.
Nah, it was not a...
No big deal.
No.
They'd taken all their gear up to Ellesmere Island and jumped off there and went the 300 miles to the pole. And Bill said, I can make a long trip out of this. I'll start in Minnesota. In fact, I'll go around the world.
Well, that was the goal, to go from Forest Lake, Minnesota to Russia.
And why?
To make a movie, do whatever, you know.
Well, we were going to start in Minnesota, travel up through Canada, between Ellesmere Island and Greenland, and then we would go down through Norway, Sweden, Finland, and into Russia to Moscow. Now, provided we were successful with that part of it, we would then go across Siberia and come back by way of Alaska.
There was a lot of debate about could we actually make it all the way on snowmobiles. The idea was, let's get there and see what it looks like. That's the way Bill kind of operated anyway, you know, building things as they happen. If it's open water, we got to call a plane and we'll do it that way. But otherwise, we were going to go on snowmobiles all the way.
Nick, what are you looking at here? What is this thing?
That's another expedition that Bill Cooper went on.
He told me about the preliminary trip, the trial trip that they took to Alaska.
We rode up to Alaska in 14 days.
He had all the clippings. He was real. I mean, this had happened.
This is Bill Cooper. This is Frank Larson. This is me. And this guy here, he was just standing around so he could have his picture taken.
And I thought, well, seems legit.
But he could talk anybody into almost anything.
Yeah, he was a talker.
He didn't have to convince me very hard, unfortunately.
He had asked me if I wanted to go, and of course I shouldn't have went, but I did anyway.
Well, first they did the trip to Anchorage. They didn't even get through with that, and Bill started talking about going around the world on snowmobiles, and I just laughed it off. I thought, well, he talks, you know. Just told him that I thought it was a dumb idea, you know, that he should get somebody else to do it. Then he'd just laugh and say, oh, you'll make it. You're a tough Norwegian. Oh.
There was a lot of work putting this stuff together, and of course you need a lot of cash.
He had to talk somebody into getting this money to go on this trip, you know. Where did he get it? I don't know.
Because it was pretty far out, you know. We're going to take a bunch of snowmobiles and we're going to go around the world with them, and you want to be part of it.
I'm sure we gave him snowmobile suits and we gave him boots and goggles, lots of goggles. And it was kind of like giving a kid a credit card in a Kmart store. I mean, he just kind of walked up and down the aisles and said, geez, I could use some of these, I could use some of that, can I have some of this, can I have some of that?
You have the record, right? The 45?
It's in here someplace. Here it is. Well, Bill and the scheme, I'll say.
How do you convince someone to write a song about him?
I don't.
You can convince anybody of
Oh.
anything.
You ever been
That
at
was-
a car knowledge?
They left the Willow River on a cold winter morn. A new breed of heroes was about to be born. This 7-man team on their ski-mobiles, led by a lot of grit and a man called Wild Bill.
It had a kind of a circus atmosphere about it, taking off in Willow River, with all the people and all the stuff going on. And I mean, it's a small town.
They had an attraction. Somebody went inside of a little wooden makeshift coffin and blew himself up. And that was the kind of things Cooper would do, just to attract attention. And I never could understand what was the connection between that and a snowmobile trip. But apparently it brought people there. In the back of his mind, they would buy beer and watch us leave.
We're going to Moscow on a tour of goodwill. We're going around the world on our ski-mobile.
You know, I remember it as it was like you were never going to see him again. You know, you watched them leave and they're heading out, and yeah, you know, they took off and all you could see was the backs of the sleds, and it was really snowing hard. It was a rough, cold, snowy day. So yeah, it was.
Ready?
Yeah.
It takes a lot more than just plain skill to make a trans-world trip on a ski-mobile. It takes a lot of guts, sweat, and steam to leave a good job and follow a dream.
Basement Creatures is a story that follows a subterranean explorer, a strong female character who goes into this subterranean world and discovers strange new places and peculiar creatures. The creatures in the basement are inspired by my real-life basement where I live, and also the more figurative types of things that can come alive if you think about all the things we store in our basements, the junk and things that don't get used every day. The characters in this story are opportunities for those possessions, those materials to come alive and tell their own story through rock and roll and image and theater. The character that I play is a funny one because when I'm so costumed and make-uped up, I'm able to, I don't know, transform and not worry about being myself and play a lot of different things. And the nature of writing from a creature's point of view versus a human point of view lets me give commentary on humans, whether it's in society or personal relationships. The play has a lot of components to it. As a rock opera, it's a spectacle. Music is a core part of it, and I knew from the start I needed a live band. So having the live band with piano, guitar, drums, and bass, along with singers. So music is throughout the whole show, in addition to the visual feast of the aerial performers on aerial chains and aerial silk, in addition to the video projection that's large-scale panorama, takes up the whole stage backdrop, 40 feet wide and 30 feet tall. and puppetry that's made from all sorts of materials that you could find in a basement. Discarded paper, cardboard, plastic is kind of the palette of materials that we use to make the puppets, in addition to the costume and the props and the scenery.
My name is Daniel Benoit, and you're taking a look at Deep Search, my custom-built projection rig that I have in use for basement creatures. Deep Search is, well, I designed her to be sort of like the brain of the show. I try and give her as much awareness as possible using various sensors and cameras. Deep Search acts as the interface between the performance and the technology. Most of the images that we use in the show, I photographed or shot the video myself. We're also using the paper cutouts of artist Daniel Jaffe. He made this little explorer. It's a dream sequence where we use a bunch of his work. But just about every piece that we have in the show was created or shot by someone in the cast or crew. The main projector sits behind the screen, so we rear project. And as far as sensors, I'm using this is an Xbox Kinect, and it has an infrared and a regular camera built into it. The infrared camera allows the computer to see the actors, whether there's light or not on the stage, which is very helpful. And then we have a webcam built up into Davy Steinman's tower, and I have an audio input coming from the sound system. I'm really excited to be a part of this show and to be a part of this group. Davy has assembled a really beautiful and talented cadre of kind of emerging artists, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to work with these people and to create and brainstorm and tech and work. It's been wonderful.
So in this performance we have aerial performers performing on aerial chains and aerial silk. It's one of the things that make theater more complicated, but also a lot more exciting. It adds an element of danger because there's real danger for the performers. So the circus arts being incorporated into this is, for me, exciting, and it expands the world of what theater can be. It's not just a puppet show. It's not just a circus show. It's not just a rock music show. It's all of these things combined together, in addition to the elements of theater that can help tell stories and make an arc of creating an evening. Having grown up in Willmar, I always enjoyed creating things, making things. I didn't consider myself a theater artist. I didn't expect I would be a performer or have a career in theater, but it definitely shaped a lot of my perspective on seeing the world. I really enjoyed the wide open spaces and the opportunity to go adventure on the prairie and in the woods. And I also grew up with a basement bedroom, so a lot of those themes and a lot of the specifics of my monologues, some of them come from my childhood growing up in Willmar. So my basement bedroom and teachers who read certain books and songs I learned in school have re-emerged here in the show. I've incorporated a lot of puppetry into my work. And it's interesting, when I talk to people casually about it, they're like, oh, puppetry, you do shows for kids. It's like, well, puppetry can be for youth or it can be for adults. I think there's a wide range of really awesome things you can do with puppetry that change your perspective as an audience member. When you know that something is not alive, but yet it's given life, it opens your mind to being receptive to new ideas. So I think puppetry and blacklight and music and video projection and aerial, to me, all tied together. I don't think of them as separate forms. I think they can really be integrated. In Basement Creatures, my character that I play is a basement dweller. It's one of the creatures in the basement. It's not specifically any type of species, even though in the rest of the show there are things like a spider or a bed bug or a centipede. I didn't have any plan going into it, and now it's a strong icon of the show. For me, that's an important part of the process, is to not plan or overthink things too much and just let the hands do some work to create some images. Then I can work on it and edit it and refine it more later. But I think being really open is a really important part of the creative process. In the play, the characters are always looking to be fulfilled or satisfied by something. So my character, I play the naive standpoint of a non-human creature trying to fulfill a human's needs or desires, offer them food, a place to sleep, a job, offspring. What do you need? As this non-human character, what do humans need? What is needed for fulfillment? And I guess that's a part of my process when I'm writing this play. I'm thinking about what is fulfilling? What do we need? So hopefully creating an awesome performance and bringing people together to share that performance in the theater is a part of a fulfilling experience that goes beyond the basic necessities of food and shelter and offers something more enriching as humans. It's an unconventional arrangement, and I think it offers opportunity for the audience to have new perspectives and be jolted into looking at their environment in a new way. And that's really exciting for me.
You know you can watch postcards on your TV, but did you also know you can watch postcards and other Pioneer shows anywhere, anytime using Pioneer On Demand at video.pioneer.org. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts, offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflections Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota. Explore hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for a great vacation or a place to hold an event. ExploreAlex.com. Tri-State Brain and Spine Institute, with locations in Alexandria, Edina, Crookston, and Maple Grove. Doctors dedicated to evaluating and treating all types of brain and spine problems, no matter how complex.